Yeah, this is actually a really important day for me, so thank you all for coming.
You're comfortable there.
I should have wrote this down. Neil said if I do a good job at the speech, I could be the best man at his next wedding as well. So me and Neil met about 24 years ago during a five-a-side tournament in which he was in goal for St Anne's and I was in goal for Longton Lane. I knew right then and there I was in the presence of an awesome talent, as he was then and still is a dead ringer for Big Neville Southall. You know, his teammates had a nickname for him. They called him the Cat. I think it was the Cat. It began with a C. You know? That's as bad as it gets. So yeah, after we left our primary schools, we went to Rainhill High, and we were in the same form and the same year for the first year. I always tried to sit as closely as possible to Neil and his impeccably neat handwriting. He was the only boy in school that used to dot his I's with hearts. Yeah. His books were backed with flock wallpaper and his mum died with a Bosch. I had one chip on them. Yeah, anyway. So then we were in the same class for a while, and then the education system kicked in and divided the kids until in accordance to how bright they were. Yeah. So the bright kids went one way and I went the other. He was off learning algebra and I didn't even know where algebra was. So yeah, it was like that for a while, and we both left Rainhill High. And actually, I've got a story about Rainhill High that I need to get off my chest. It's not something I'm proud of, but it is a story nevertheless that I was saving up for today. I'm not going to tell the story. I'm going to read you a letter that's been in my possession.
Oh my God.
For more than 20 years. This isn't an actual part of a speech, but this is more of a. I feel like I'm a psychopathic. I'm just going to read the letter and you can judge for yourselves. Dear Mrs. Watson, on the evening of the 12th of June, my eldest son Neil came home from school in what I can only describe as a nervous wreck.
Every day.
After beating him for several hours, I finally managed to convince him to tell me what was the matter. He proceeded to inform me on his way out of art class, two much stronger, bigger boys than my frail Neil had set upon him, and in one swift and unprovoked attack, pinned him down, covered his eyes, and proceeded to smear a large piece of chewing gum in my Neil's already thinning hair. The rest of our evening was spent attempting to remove the chewing gum by any means necessary, including freezing it. What was that? Your handwriting's terrible. Applying butter, syrup, Vaseline, KY gel. There's a lot of good. But it was no use. So after beating Neil for several hours, we decided to get the clippers out. Clippers that were originally used to shave Neil's back before swimming.
I believe that.
I know. It was then I knew that I must find out who this culprit was. So, after beating him for several hours, I finally persuaded Neil to tell me who it was. And like the grass I knew he was. He squealed like pigs on a honeymoon, no pun intended. He then proceeded to tell me that the pupil was Jeff Fishwick.
Oh my God.
Yeah, you were expecting my name there, weren't you? I therefore request that the maximum punishment is given to the animal of a pupil. Please seek evidence enclosed. That's your wedding present, by the way. Yours sincerely, Mrs. J. Johnson. P.S. Please make sure that Neil applies the Factor 50 sunscreen to his already balding spot. So, obviously after that, you and I know that it wasn't Jeff Fishwick that smeared the chewing gum in his hair that night. It was me. And I do regret it, you know.
It's
never going back.
So emotional. So as soon as I found out about the letter, I thought, you know, I've got to tell him that it wasn't me. It's, you know,
On his wedding day.
some other kids gonna get a blame for this. So I told Neil it was me, and he put the letter back in his bag, and I thought, you know, that's gonna make a great speech one day. So I took it out of his school bag, and I'll say that in 20 years' time when he asked me to be his best man. So we both left Rainhill High and started St Helens College. And we were both in the same class in software engineering. We probably spent 95% of the time in class, and actually I got that the wrong way around. We probably spent 5% of the time in software engineering class, and 95% time at the Scala, because that's the only place in St Helens that would serve us alcohol. We were still 16, boyish good looks, and you know, spots. Exactly. Yeah. Until we turned 18, and Jonnos' alter ego was born then and there. DJ Jonnos. His name was up in lights. He was the resident at our local nightclub. He played, and then he went national. We played. There's no we involved. He played every big city and town in the country, including St Helens, Mansfield. I used to go with him occasionally to one of his gigs, only to be greeted at the door by the generous bar staff who would give us a wad of beer vouchers as gratitude for his service. Unfortunately for Neil, I couldn't drive back then, so we had a bit of a deal going. I carry his records in, and he carries me out. And it worked quite well for a considerable number of years. And then we go back to a party to someone else's house. And then, out of the blue, Neil and his younger brother there, Adrian, get the best gift a parent could ever give their sons. A mortgage application form. So Neil and Adrian had their own house. And I've got to tell you, some wild party. Telling you. Women, booze, drugs, the lot. I just wish Adrian would have invited me occasionally. Right, I've completely lost it. So this went on for quite a while, and there are so many incriminating stories. I mean, I would be incriminated by most of these stories, so I'm not going to go there. So I'm not going to go there. So, yeah, I mean, me and Neil would like to get involved in some of these parties occasionally, but you know, we had to be up early for golf. 7:30 tee off time, no later. And then something happened. And then Jane walked into his life, and I've never quite seen a change in an individual. Quite like Neil when Jane walked into his life. It was amazing. He stopped He stopped ironing his underpants. And his pyjamas.
He started ironing his bed sheets.
He stopped ironing his month's worth of dirty socks in a sack. But most importantly was the increase of his sense of adventure and his love of life. This is true. It's the only true part of this speech. He started going camping, and I've never seen Jonnos go camping before. He started drinking White Russians, as Alan, sampling last night. Yeah. And while he was on this wild adventure craze, him and Jane were trying to think of a new hobby, and they were racking their brains for quite a while. What could they possibly do to keep this love of life? Fortunately, they went skiing. And obviously we all know the story. I'm not going to go into just know that the mountain was angry that day, my friends.
Very angry.
It was very angry. But I say fortunately because Neil wanted to take up archery. And I don't think any of us would be sat here now if Jane didn't wear the pants in this relationship. Which brings me on to Jane. Jane, you look absolutely radiant tonight.
Yay.
As you always do.
Always.
Always do.
Always.
I don't know how you got your hair to grow so much in a week.
I do.
Oh God, is that some new shampoo?
Jonnos Regain.
Yeah. You should lend that to Jonnos. Yeah. And Neil, what? If there's one person I need to thank more than anyone for carrying me through school and college
And life.
and life, exactly. Amen.
Amen.
It's you. You let me copy off your impeccably so many times, and I can't thank you enough. And it's an absolute honour to be your best man.
Hey.
So you've honestly you've got the patience of a saint.
No.
He's got a heart of gold and a knob of butter. So please, ladies and gentlemen, for the last time, stand and raise your glasses. Join me in a toast to Jonno and JJ.
JJ! That is what you will forever be known now.